you read them? Good, I'm happy to hear that. I'll get there. Maybe I'll wear lenses or something and do it.
You with contact lenses, yes.
That'll be a. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
do glasses only. Hey guys! Well, let me say it's really good to be back. And I'm a bit speechless because it is overwhelming. It's been 6 months and I've not been here. I'm back in the Facebook office and I can't tell you how happy I am to see all these guys, see you all. It's, uh, it's been a roller coaster and extremely emotional. But I'm really glad I'm back. We're here. We're doing a live discussion after 6 months. Thank you. I really want to thank you all for holding the fort. And, book club was a great source of strength for me through these last 6 months. A little bit of seriousness before we go back to our discussion and everything. But I have to say that it gave me a lot of strength. It was something that I looked forward to while I was in New York. And it picked me up, gave me the being in touch with all of you, keeping it going, gave me something to do. So somewhere I think this book club has been my lifeline through these last 6 months, and I can't thank you guys enough for being there, for making it go on. Really, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And here we are today. The book we are here to discuss is Half Brother by Kenneth Oppel, and this was recommended by my son Ranveer. So we have dragged him here, and we have said you have to be here to do the
Yeah.
discussion. Considering if you suggest a book, then you have to be part of the discussion.
Yeah.
So, Ranveer, here we are, the ready for the discussion, and I want to ask you, what made you recommend this book to me?
Since we have a dog, Isis, and it's when I read the book, it just really reminded me of her, and I just wanted to be with her.
Yeah.
And it was really not only that, but it also opened me up to a new world of animal trafficking, but not in the way you see it as for labor, but actually for experiments.
Yeah.
Which is not as well documented because it's usually for the good of mankind, and the dog going to space, it's a huge event, but it's not seen in a bad light. But this is showing us what the animal actually goes through, and I felt like if I can pass this message on through the book, it'll be nice, to
Yeah, so
let
you
people know.
knew the impact it would have on me, and it was true because considering that I think page one and I was weeping. Also,
Yeah,
it
page
is
one.
a sensitive book, but I think I'm also very emotionally fragile at this point. So everything like kind of turns the taps on for me. But there was a lot of sensitivity in this book, and the bond that they had in the book, the boy Ben and the chimpanzees, and the bond they had was exceptional. And I'm glad you said these things. I want to ask you one more question on it. So, what do you think? If the option was that the progress we've made in science, okay, the
Yeah.
progress that mankind has made in science is, a lot of people say it's because of these experiments. So, would you give up the progress for ethical treatment of animals?
So it's more a double-edged sword than anything. On one front, you're respecting not only mankind but all species that live on the earth, which is also important. But then on the other hand, we do need to evolve. It's necessary for a civilization to evolve. Otherwise, it's gonna die out like the Romans, Egyptians, and all those ancient civilizations. So it is a double-edged sword. But to answer your questions, although I feel strongly about this kind of trafficking, I feel they could be treated more. They could be treated
Ethically.
yeah, they could be treated ethically during a experiment. It doesn't have to be that due to an experiment
Would you,
they have to
I'm
go
sorry
through
to
on a.
interrupt you, but would you during this period, I mean, it's just one book that you've read. Do you think after reading this book, are you open to kind of figuring out more, getting more information before you form your mind about, do you want to, before you kind of make up your mind about experimentation with animals? Would you
Uh,
want to read up more about it, see more documentaries on it, maybe, or something like that, before you form that opinion?
Definitely. So one of the projects that this book was inspired of, I'm not sure, but I saw something where it stated that it was kind of based on this was Project Holene or something like that. I can't remember
Project
the.
Nim, I think it was that
Yeah.
chimpanzee, the teacher.
So it was two projects really, Project Nim and the other one that we saw.
Hmm.
It was something with
Washo or
yes,
something.
Washo. Project Nim
Okay.
and Project Washo. I feel like they were more of an inspiration for this book, and uh, yeah, after reading up a little bit more about them, you can actually see that although they went through the experiments and went through stuff that's good and bad, uh, at the end of the day, it's from one species to another, and how if we took it, if animals took us in, they would do the same thing to us. If you would say, because at the end of the day, it's
No, I would say that, listen, there has to be another way of evolving without hurting somebody else. So I don't know, maybe you're not firmly into it, but I really firmly believe that we can, I'm sure, find other ways of evolving without having to hurt someone. There has to be a gentler, more ethical way of evolving and taking our civilization forward. Anyway, that's my view. I would like to recommend and always use products that, when they say against animal testing, I prefer to buy that product rather than any other. So,
no,
and
that's
after reading this book, I'm really sure I'm picking up products that say against animal testing. I'm very convinced about it
no,
now.
that's a fact. I'm just saying that all over history there hasn't been no pain, no gain. No,
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 come on.
it's the fact, but still, I do feel that the animals should not go through this.
So I think no pain, no gain, what you're saying, I think we need to give it a chance to decide on it. But anyway, while we are saying this, how was it to read the book with me?
Well, actually, I read it before you, so
Yes, you did. And that's why you recommended it. But
yeah.
did you enjoy the process that we were reading the same book?
The most fun part about it is that usually you recommend a book and you already know all about it, and
Yeah.
you're like asking me these questions, and now I'm finally like, oh, have you reached this part? Oh, I'm not gonna spoil
Yeah,
it for
that's
you.
true.
Oh, something happens over there, and then
Yeah.
so put you through the torture.
Yeah. Tell me, were you even a little bit awkward while there were certain parts in the book, like, with Jennifer, Ben's relationship with Jennifer, and he's a 13-year-old, which you are also. You're a 13-year-old, and obviously there's a lot of similarities that you're probably going through in school. I don't know about it, but was there a bit of awkwardness that your mom is going to be reading those parts, and maybe somewhere you might be feeling those things also, because you are going to be a teenager now and you're getting there. So
Well, not really. I mean, if
I'm happy to
you
hear that you were not awkward. I would really not. I wouldn't want you to be awkward. I mean, yeah. Just to say it, that I really would love to be someone whom you come and share everything with. It's not happening. I think he does it more with the father, but still. Yeah. So, who's your favorite character in the book? Ben, Zan, Ben's mum, Ben's father, or Peter?
I think Peter, because he really, even though he wasn't there from the start of the book, and he was introduced around the middle of the story, he still had a really huge impact on the story
Yeah.
and on how the story progressed through. So I feel that with all this, I think Peter really stood out to me, because not only did he have the courage to risk his
Entire career.
yeah,
Absolutely.
but he had the love for the animal,
Yeah.
which of course
That was the thing.
is it's one of the
Yeah.
most important
So,
things.
for me, I think Zan, of course, was the most lovable character, and with what he was going through. Ben, we felt for so much because he was going through so much, and it was basically their story and their bond.
Yeah.
But I think I felt somewhere a lot for Ben's mum, because somewhere she started. I mean, that scene where she was, when they wrote about it, when it was written, and where she was actually breastfeeding the chimpanzee. It was a shocking scene for me. It was like, how far would you go in the name of science? And then I realized she was like so totally committed into it, and she wanted to do her own research project, and she had put her career on hold first to have a child, and then afterwards, when she started doing that project, which meant so much to her because she had put her own career on hold for so long, and yet here she was at another part of the book, risking that entire thing, all those years of work and research, was risking it because it was right to give Zan a better life. And I think so. I kind of identified with her in that and really felt a lot for her.
On the other side of the coin, actually, I felt that what Ben's mom was doing was a little too far. At the end of the day, the chimp
Really?
is an experiment.
That means you agree with Ben's
No,
father?
no, 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 no. That's not what I said. You can't
Yeah, but
jump
you
to
know, he
accusations.
treated it very
No,
unemotionally.
but I'm not saying that you shouldn't be like
Emotional
like Ben's
about it.
mother.
Yeah.
But in some ways, Ben's father is right. He's not a human. You can't make him into a human. That's not
So
possible.
that you think was the mistake in trying to
No,
make
no,
him
no.
into a human?
Yeah, I feel like if you're gonna make him into a human, there's no point because the fact that he is a chimp is what started the entire experiment. So
Right.
when you're humanizing it, you know,
You're taking
he's a
away from the
chimp.
experiment.
Yeah, and he's a chimp. He deserves to live as a chimp because he was born that way.
Okay, fair enough. What would your advice to Ben and his family be? If you could, if it was before they got the chimp, before starting the experiment, suppose you got a chance to kind of give them some advice, what would it be?
Before the start of the experiment.
Yeah. Don't start it.
Well,
Well, if you start it, don't
really.
humanize it.
Yeah, definitely to not to balance it really. Don't completely humanize it, but also don't make it completely about.
Don't make it very cold also.
Yeah. So you have to that equilibrium.
So you're talking
between
again
hot and
about
cold.
ethical
Yeah.
treatment
So
of
basically,
animals.
the equilibrium between hot and cold. That's
Okay.
where I would recommend to keep them because that's where you're getting the best of both worlds really.
What do you think of Ben's father's harsh methods of disciplining Zan?
I feel from no fault of Ben's father, but through actually him, later we learn about the financial stuff that's going in and all the
Right.
sponsors. I feel he was doing the right thing because although Ben's mom or Ben didn't really understand that he has got those sponsors and he has to and he has to answer to them.
So you feel he was looking at the bigger picture of his own family and he needed to provide for the family and he was providing for them through these grants that he was getting to do the
Yeah,
experiment.
the grants. So the thing is that because Ben thought that there was nobody above his dad.
Yeah.
His dad was the boss, but his dad wasn't the boss of the experiment.
Right, I get
he had the
that.
grants, he had people to answer to.
So in that way, his turnaround and him helping out was quite a lovely turnaround.
Yeah,
in that
exactly.
sense.
And that's what really makes it special, right?
Yeah.
It's more underlying almost.
Yeah.
But if you pick it up, it makes that turnaround so much more big and.
What do you think of this whole school system that he was in where there's some sort of a bullying happening where he kind of forms a persona and kind of treats it like an alpha male and deals with it in a certain way? Does that happen in school?
Well, no. But I feel, touching on the alpha male persona thing a little bit more, I feel the same way as I felt about Zan being too humanized. It's also.
Ben was being too much of a chimp.
Yeah. There has to be an equilibrium. You cannot have a chimp that behaves like a human.
And a human that behaves like a chimp.
Yeah, it's just. I mean,
Yeah.
it's good and well for for you to call your child a monkey or but when he actually uses that mentality.
Yeah.
I guess you can I guess you can relate it really, but I think
Do you have any questions for me in this book?
Yeah. What part did you cry in the most? Now this is interesting because I'm pretty sure. I think I know what it is, but let's see.
I cried at the first page. When they took the baby away from the mother that was it. The mother in me was weeping already. And, it took me a little while to actually like anybody in Ben's family, even Ben for that matter, because for me, they were already taking a baby away from the mother.
Yeah. So what you're saying is basically the entire book was just basically one session of crying.
No, there were certain bits where I did find it funny also. It was cute and it was nice and I liked the way he was I love the way the bond between Ben and Zan grew. I liked that bit. But when he was taken away and the tearing, I could feel the pain in Ben's and more than that, even in Zan's heart. Who can't? I'll cry now if
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
about it. It was
Kenneth
just that
Oppel
their
has
separation
really
was yeah,
has really
yeah.
shown us that
Oh,
really well.
sorry. Yeah.
Also, you said about you talked about the comedic parts of the book
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the cute parts of the book.
Yeah.
So, what did you think? What do you think Kenneth Oppel was thinking when he included these parts?
Well, see, to be honest, when you told me this book, I was not very sure if we should put this book on because it's more like a young adult fiction. But because you had suggested, I said, okay, let's do this. I think through the book, what happened was that it was a young adult fiction. It was something that 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds would read. And I think I really appreciate the fact that he put it out the way he did because this is the age when we want our children to understand what the animals are going through, to start this debate. When you do this book in a book club and when you start a debate on it, it gets people talking about, are we treating animals ethically? Is it important? Just to get that conversation going is very important. So I think he has targeted it at the right age by keeping the cuteness. You can identify with that age group, so there are some fun things that are going on and everything. And of course, the book is based in like 70s. So there's that little hippie background that's going, which I thought was really lovely. It was very retro for me. And it was very interesting to see that. I thought it was a very well written book.
So, what do you think about if it was not a book written for young adults, but if Kenneth Oppel wrote it more for adults, do you think these cute scenes would be there, or how would you, if you were writing this book, how would you have approached it with all this stuff now that's on the table, with the cute
Honestly,
parts and the sad parts?
I'll tell you what, honestly, I think this is the best way to have written it because experimentation, especially with the big pharma companies and all that doing it, there's just such a huge picture to it and there's just so much going on. The politic of it is so huge that the only simple way to touch this huge topic is by putting it in the way he has done it. I'm blown by the fact that the author put in such an interesting topic and a subject that's so vast. By putting it in that age group, he has made it simpler. Otherwise, you could have gone on and on and on, and it would have become all sorts of. It would have gone into a different zone altogether. But I like the way he used the age group and got it done the way they did.
Okay, one
And
last
here,
question.
yeah.
So, if you were, let's say, Ben's mom in this, how would you have handled this exact
Situation.
if your husband brought in, had told you about this experiment, your son had all these issues? How would you look at this from a mom's point of view?
I think I think it would be exactly the way it was dealt with, because the fact is that she realizes that by humanizing the chimp, she made a mistake, and she acknowledges it, and she tries to rectify it, and that's the only way. We are all human. We are going to make mistakes, but the thing is to acknowledge it and to try to correct it rather than going on with it. So I think I would go on in that. Listen, we have a lot of
Questions.
questions.
Yeah, let's
Yes.
get to those.
Shall we? Manan Desai, thank you. It's really good to be back. I'm so happy that I'm back. Nilofer, thank you. Yes, as you heard me, it made me cry a lot. Reshnonka. Thank you. I'm not going to tell him that, but I like the great parenting bit. Anshul Gautam, always great to hear from you. And Ratnavel. Yeah, she wanted to talk about Ben's relationship with Jennifer. And I think you've got your answer on that. And yeah, I hope you tell me when you have a Jennifer in your life. I'm trying. Will you? Amuju. Hi Sonali, so glad to have you back. Thank you. Hope all is well with you. Getting there. It's great that this book club has also gotten Ranveer involved. I know how tough it is to get my son to read. How often do you recommend books to each other? Listen, you've caught me in this because basically, shut your ears. I don't want you to hear it. But it is, by getting him involved in this is just getting him to read. That's lovely. and it's got him interested in reading. I can't tell you the joy it gives me to be reading with him. So that was one of the reasons when he recommended the book, I really wanted to bring it out there and do this with him because I was so excited that Ranveer was actually recommending a book. And I agree with you, it's a great challenge to get this generation to read.
So
And it's not something he loves doing, but we are getting there.
So would you say if a parent and child read the book together and
Yeah.
had something to discuss about, they would the child would want to read more?
I would say so, yeah. I think
Because like this platform that we have of the book club,
yeah.
not everybody has the platform of a book club, but if you just have a mom or dad that has read the same book as you and you're
Do you
like,
enjoy it when we read it together?
yeah, I feel it's more fun.
You feel connected?
Yeah, because it's like, especially when I read books that you've read like a long time ago, I feel like
You're looking at me at that time.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a
It's
great
just like, what would have mama done at this point? Would she
Yeah.
have cried?
You know,
So-
also some of my old books have my notes in them, so it would be if you when as you get to reading those books,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to kind of. But having said that, what I would like to say is that it was a great way to connect with him, and sometimes there are certain topics. You know, it's a great way to kind of touch on sensitive topics and to discuss certain things that you can't just bring up a topic and start talking about it. But this leads to a conversation, and I really feel everything in life is about having meaningful conversations, and I think that's what reading together does. Helps you have a meaningful conversation. Roshni Sampath, so good to have you back. Sonali wanted to ask you, how would you describe this book in a word to someone who would like to read it? I would say in one word. How do you think we would describe it in one word?
One word.
What would that word be? I would say,
Melancholy.
no, I would say sensitive.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I
Because
think
it
it
gives
is.
you your ups and gives you and gives you
Yeah,
your
but
downs.
still, it's very sensitive to a teenage life. And I think it's dealing with a lot of teenage topics in a very sensitive way. So I would say that. Unless you have something else to say, I would like to hear that. Oh, thank you, Moshmi. Thank you so much for that compliment. Yes, sometimes he can be a bit mature, and that's nice. Yeah. Would you like to ask if Ranveer recommended? Ratnavel wants to know. Would like to ask if Ranveer recommended some of his classmates? You know, actually, I would like to answer that. Ratnavel, he was doing this book in his school book club, and that's how he read it, and he recommended it to me. So, in your book club, what was your friends' reaction? Did they like the book?
We didn't do this in a book club.
Oh, you didn't do this in a book club.
This was
your
a self-read.
okay.
But I've heard of other people who've
Read this book.
that they thought it was really impacting.
Okay, so it did impact his friends and who have read this book, and that was a
Because it is very relatable to that sense,
yes, it is.
So
Yeah. Any more questions? What else do you want to say about it?
it was
I
just
would
a
love
good
to keep
read.
chatting and talk more about it, but I think I'm a little bit exhausted now.
I mean, it was a good read. I would definitely
there's-
recommend looking into Project Washoe and
Project
Project
Nim.
because they were the two real experiments conducted on chimps about ALS. So I would definitely look into them also more. after
You know,
we're done.
while we are on doing books with your kids, so there are a lot of parents out there in the book club who would be wanting to do that. I would like to say that while I did this book together with him, there was a book that we read together, which was called, what was it? Drumsticks, high school, no, middle school. What was that book that we had read together? Can you tell me that name?
Which one?
I do have a situation which is called chemo brain where I keep forgetting things while I'm talking. I believe the situation, I will grow out of it, but at this point I'm fully into it. So we did read a book. I don't remember the name exactly. I'm going to get you the name, but in which
Bad Pie something?
no, so it was a lovely book where a teenage, like a 12 or 13-year-old boy whose younger brother had cancer, and
Yeah, I remember this book. It's called Bad Pie, Drumsticks, and something else.
yeah, Bad Pie, Drumsticks, and something like that. I'm going to get you the name.
One more thing is there.
But I didn't realize it. But when we met Ranveer and when Goldie kind of shared what his mother was going through with him, and he said, I hope you understand and I want to explain this to you. And he said, Papa, I know what you're talking about. And Goldie was like, how do you know about it? And he said, I read a book with Mama. And that's how I understand it. And this is what happened in it. And it's going to be hard on the relationships around, because that's what the book is. about how a child with cancer, somebody in family who has cancer, and how it impacts the entire family. So the reason why I'm giving this example is that it was this book that we had read together at, I think, 2 or 3 years back, that we read this book together.
Definitely
But
2 years back.
yeah, definitely. But it was this book that kind of gave him an insight into dealing with the situation we were in June, when he landed at the airport in New York, and his father was telling him that this is what it actually is, and it helped him deal with it. And that's what I think books do. It brings you together, and it also helps you deal with a lot of situations which, we are not going to go through every, and I hope we don't have to go through every horrible situation in life. But when you read through it, you kind of you kind of feel it and get understand it and kind of live through it while reading it, and it helps give you a great perspective. So yes, as much as you can, read with the kids, I would say. And on that line, I think we could sign off. What do you say?
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Ranveer. Any more
Thank you.
recommendations, and I'm open to it. But that
Yeah,
also
definitely.
means you have to be open to my recommendations. Yes. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. It
was a lot of
great.
fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. It was. It was great to have Ranveer on my book club and sitting here with him. It's kind of quite exciting, emotional, but
Yeah.
more than anything else, once again, guys.
Definitely would like to recommend more books.
Yes, but before we sign off, once again, thank you so much for being with me these last 6 months. And like I said before, the book club has been a lifeline. So once again, thank you very much. It was lovely being back. Mwah! Yes.